First, I'd like to say much respect to you for addressing the issue that not only haunts this installation, but this country as a whole. As a Black millennial in this environment, I know it's important now more than ever for our voices to be heard. Notice I refer to myself as Black and not African American. Truly, we don't know that our ancestry extends from Africa, and it's clear that we are not treated as American. We haven't been for generations. But what actually is American? There aren't many races on this soil that can definitively say that they're flesh of it. They can't say their ancestors carried this soil on their backs, including whites. When I think of what American is supposed to be, it is a nation as one, with no regard to color, culture, or complexities. It has nothing to do with whether or not the color of my skin matches yours, because at the end of it all, our general anatomical makeup is quite the same. You bleed like I bleed. Your heart pumps to keep you alive more than 3 billion times in an average lifetime, same as mine, and still it doesn't. Do you truly understand why my heart may never reach that average number of 3 billion times? Or my father's, or my brother's? Being that I'm one of the youngest in my work area, I find myself constantly being asked why our generation has chosen to respond to the murder of an innocent Black man with such rage and violence. I'd like to refer to a statement made by one of the most controversial men of the 90s of all time, Tupac Shakur. One who you may not agree with or even respect, but still was a bright young man who understood the ongoing injustices and used his platform to actively speak against it. In one of his interviews, he was questioned about his outlook on racial injustices and how in the same breath he can promote violence and destruction. He used the example of a group of starving people, Blacks, on the outside of a hotel filled with food and partying. Paraphrasing, he says that every day, you, whites, open the door, let us see and smell the food, and slam the door in our faces, saying that there is none. And it starts by us pleading and trying to sing our way in. We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in. We're ignored and disregarded. And 1 week passes, and our song changes to, we're starving, open the door. And weeks go by with nothing changing, and we're still hungry. Now we're picking a lock coming through the door blasting, and rightfully so. You see, it's easy to say we should come together and be there for one another. It's entirely different to actually do it. Our people know and believe that we are placed in poverty and bound there by a government with the makeup of a white man. Guns and drugs strategically placed into neighborhoods filled with Blacks, and because we've always been submissive to the white man, we fall into the systemic trap. Asking why our people will kill each other in different ghettos is a rhetorical question. How are you going to ask me what your plan was? That very plan is nothing more than a distraction to diverge from the spotlight of whites secretly and publicly killing Blacks for no reason and with no consequence. So it means very little to me when people say, how are they going to stop killing us when we can't stop killing each other? Because honestly, one has nothing to do with the other. Killing is wrong no matter how you flip it up and smack it down. How dare one fix their mouths to say you should stop killing us if we stop killing each other? And there's so much more to be said, but I'd like to finally begin by addressing the question, why is this generation responding to the death, murder, of George Floyd with such violence? Because violence on violence gets us nowhere, but neither did peacefully marching. And rioting solves nothing, but neither did our public speeches or silent sit-ins. So let me try to explain and give you a better understanding. It's hard to understand something that's based on no valid reasoning to begin with. We are hated simply because my body is covered in melanin and yours is pale, yet you lie under a tanning bed or out in the sun in an attempt to crisp your skin to match mine, but we shouldn't be bothered. We are hated simply because I choose to rock an afro and embrace the beauty and glory that is my hair, and you call it ghetto, but yet strut down a fashion runway with cornrows and blown out overspritzed afros, and deny any allegations of cultural appropriation, and we shouldn't be bothered. We are hated simply because our skin reflects that of elderberry, a powerful and natural healing element, a fruit so rich just as the content of my skin. Yet you tell your child not to touch me because my skin reflects nothing more than dirt to you. And we're just kids running up the steps on a playground, right? No understanding of what they call race. We don't see color, we see a friend, another human breathing and blinking back just like me. And while there's no understanding of what they call race, it's only a matter of time before you sit that child down and explain to them with no valid reasoning that their skin exalts their value in this world, that they shouldn't treat me the same as they treat their pale counterparts because they have the ability to weaponize an organ, their skin, their being. And your teaching is what makes it normal for me to go home and tell my mom that Susan's parents said she couldn't play with me, and for my mom to sit me down and explain why I must fear you for the capability to weaponize your existence. And where's my dad while we're on the subject? He's not around because it's in your plan that he's nowhere to be found. He's either on the corner moving your weight or carrying the weight and burden of fearing for his life being taken by whichever enemy, whether that be another brother or the one who places on a badge and pledges to protect his pale cohorts. Or he's locked away in a place that sole purpose is to institutionalize the hurting of black men, breaking them down, taking them away from their offspring, and forcing them to live a life as animals. And while we're talking about animals, is that not what your great-great-grandfather referred to mine as? Our ancestors were said to have no more value than an animal and to be treated and sold as such. Could you imagine? Could you imagine being sold into another man's hands? Close your eyes and picture yourself being likened to that of a cow. What happens to most cows? They're sold and bred only to be slaughtered for your consumption. Now open your eyes and realize what the white man has done to our people for hundreds of years. Open your eyes and realize we've been sold and auctioned as things. Realize we've been hunted and slain for trying to act nicely for our freedom. Realize we've been hunted and slain for trying to run for our freedom. And after all of that realization, you question why I fight? We've been in a one-sided war for generations, whites beating us down to our knees for simply trying to stand, spitting on us and telling us we don't have the right. White organizations like the Ku Klux Klan burning our homes down in the middle of the night with us in them, threatening our lives and burning down the businesses we frequent. And when obedience isn't obtained in their eyes, burning us alive figuratively and literally. And still we get up and put on our pants and boots and gather on the same fields our ancestors picked cotton and we walk. We walk and plead and beg you to look at us for who we are. We beg you to find it in your Christian heart to treat us the same. On hands and knees begging you to let us use the same bathroom as you. Crying on the floor begging you to just let us eat in the same vicinity or drink from the same water fountain or go to the same schools or get the newer and updated books or walk through the front door instead of the back. Tell me how the fuck those were laws. How does it make sense to lawfully label a water fountain whites only? And after we've begged you for years and pleaded with you for generations, you can't see why I'm mad? You can't understand why I'm tired. You can't comprehend why it sickens me to watch a black man plead for his life and call for his deceased mother. May they both rest in peace now. It's never been that you can't understand. You understand it perfectly. You see the problem, and it's clear now more than ever that you don't care to change it, because essentially it isn't a problem to you. To you, that's how it's supposed to be, because that's how your ancestors held it down, right? And still you stand on national television with your orange-colored skin and demand a peaceful protest. I think millennials say it best, LOL. Freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Right, a moral or legal entitlement to have or obtain something or to act in a certain way. That's a page out of your dictionary. My ancestors received absolutely no response to peacefully asking you for freedom and the right to live. My ancestors received no recognition for peacefully pleading with you for freedom and the right to live. And now in this moment, you have the balls to stand in my face and demand a peaceful protest. You have the nerve to stand in my face and demand peace. Maybe I didn't see what I saw when your officer peacefully killed an innocent man. Doesn't even sound right, huh? And yes, I say innocent because regardless of you fixing your lips to say, we don't know what he did before the recording started. Oh, let's not forget your mantra, innocent until proven guilty. Or is that only for the Zimmermans of the world who gunned down black children named Trayvon Martin? How about you say that name? Or when the Dylan Roofs senselessly rained hell on a group of black churchgoers in Charleston trying to worship. Clementa Pinckney, Cynthia Hurd, Susie Jackson, Ethel Lance, DePayne Middleton Doctor, Twanza Sanders, Daniel Simmons, Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Myra Thompson. Say their names while you at it too. You deny me a decent paying job because my name is Rashad instead of Brad, and oh, what that could do to the mirror image of your company to see a black man in its reflection. But you don't understand why I'm on the corner trying to make sure my kid can eat tonight. Think about that. Think about whether or not Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery had kids they had to feed the night before their last breath exited their bodies into ascension. And for what? For minding their business? Think about how Philando Castile was gunned down in front of his spouse and 4-year-old daughter for practicing his Second Amendment right to bear arms. Not to shoot the police, but to simply bear arms for means of protection against perpetrators. And if we don't protest and yell at you to just think about those things, would you even? Would you think twice about the sound of bullets ricocheting, slicing through the wind only to pierce the body of Sean Reed and an officer to stand over his now lifeless body to utter the words, "Looks like it's gonna be a closed casket, homie"? What about if the color of his skin matched the color of yours? What would you do then? Regardless of fault, if your little brother, unarmed, was evading the police on foot, would you expect them to rain down on him like a drive-by on a silent night? What form of retaliation would you see fit then? And now we're in an era made up of entrepreneurs and bright-minded geniuses and young billionaires who answer to no one but themselves. A group of philanthropists and bloggers and social media lights who have never been comfortable with submission. Our people have been submissive for far too long. We're done asking you. We're done telling you. We're done being sick of white supremacy. We're done being tired of racial injustice. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's why we're looting and rioting and losing our shit. Because I shouldn't have to tell you any longer. And even if you don't hear us, I promise you gon' feel us. Our frustration has ignited the rage from within, and that's what's lighting fires. Until you see us and treat us all the same, we'll continue to wreak havoc and bring destruction, if not literally, then figuratively. We are not a generation of submission. We're a generation of technology and the ability to catch you up in your web of lies and expose the truth. We are freedom riders who are willing to show up and ride for what we believe in. We have the utmost love and respect for our ancestors, but we are not them. We are our own individuals, and we have emotions just the same as you. Ask yourself how it would be if the shoe was on the other foot. If you were in blackface and couldn't wash it off at the end of the day. Don't tell us how to feel. Don't tell us how to respond or what you would do, because clearly that didn't work. So if expressing my anger through burning down your establishments is what momentarily calms my pain, then so be it. If stomping on your police cars just as you stomped on George Floyd's neck and asserted your position of authority as the oppressor helps me blow off steam for the moment, then so be it. You do these things to us and demand for mercy in return. We're done tolerating such disrespect. This country responds to the threat of terrorism and attack with war. If their people's lives are in jeopardy, they're fighting for their country to protect what? Their right to live. We are simply doing the same. We are fighting for black people's right to live. And if you don't get that by now, you can stand with us or get trampled over. Do we have your attention now?